Hey there, Rach here. So we're coming to the end of a long month, a long quarter, to what has been a super unpredictable and weird half of the year. So what's next? Obviously we don't know what's around the corner, but if you're running an e-commerce agency, now is the time to start putting goals, measurable goals in place to make sure that you end 2020 in a solid and secure place. Of course, the year's been super crazy for most of the agencies that I speak to and work with. The project, one of my clients, they had 250k of his pipeline dropped off basically within a week. And then all of a sudden, then he had to scale back his team because they were uncertain about what was to come. And then all of the old clients came back, not wanting project work, but they wanted support with growth, so more marketing services, and he had then to fulfill those requests with a scaled back team. So it was a lot of hustle and stress and keeping the wheels on. So I know a lot of agency owners are now coming to the end of month 6 and being like, I don't know how I managed to make it here. Head is a bit melted. I'm not really sure what way to turn. I always say at the end of every quarter is time to put your 90-day goals in place for the next quarter. You can't manage what you don't measure, so without those measurable, tangible goals in place, you're not really going to achieve much. So if you're not too sure where to start with finances. What does it look like in terms of cash flow? What do you want to achieve over the next 90 days? I would break that down, if possible, into projects and retainers. So if you have a monthly goal of 50k a month, maybe 20k is going to be retainers, for example, and 30k towards projects, or whatever the split looks like. And then take those goals and split them back even further. If 20k a month of retainer recurring revenue for Q3, what does that look like? Is that 4 5k retainers? Is that 10 2k retainers? What does the team need to fulfill that? How many of those sales do you need, how many of those retainers do you need to sell in order to hit your targets? So be really, really specific. Another thing you should look at next to finances is look at your time. Look how you're spending your time. The last 6 months has probably been a bit of a shit show, so that's, don't factor that in. But start tracking your time, writing down where you're spending your time, and then figuring out who in your team. Most agencies I'm speaking to, they're bringing back most of their team if they're not already back in place. A lot of the team are out of furlough. Where are you spending your time, and what now needs to be delegated out, or where do you need to put people in place so you can then focus on growing the company? So whether that means you've stepped into project management because one of your project managers has left or been let go, or whatever the situation is, or maybe it's a case that you've had to step in and do design work or a bit of dev work. Look at where your time is being consumed and where your time is most valuable. Any agency owner should know their time is most valuable on the vision, on the strategy, on being the face of the agency, on providing that consultative advice. In many cases, it's around sales. So that takes me on to my next point, and my third area that I think you should focus on. It's around your processes, the structure of your the foundation of your agency. What systems and processes do you need to have in place, or do you have in place currently that need to be optimized? Is the sales process efficient? Is your delivery process efficient? Do you have it documented? Does everybody in the team know what that looks like? Do you need to have training? Does the team need to have training? So it's really figuring out what needs to be created to make sure that you will achieve those end goals. Ultimately, the easiest way to measure your goals is money, but what do you need to do to get there? And be really specific. It's not just about this is my goal, but what strategies are needed to achieve that goal, and then what tasks are needed to achieve those strategies. So a perfect example is, like I said, I want to hit 20k recurring revenue a month on retainers. Okay, so the first strategy is to look at my book of clients and figure out which ones are coming back time and time again for work, what's the average spend of those clients, and how do I put an ongoing service sort of package, or what sort of service best meets their requirements. And then my task then is to build that package or build that offering, put it into a proposal, get the client on the call and get them over the line. So it's very, very specific. And then look at your calendar and say, okay, so this specific task I'm going to be doing on week 1, this specific task I'm going to be doing on week 2, and block your calendar out. And then you'll realize you'll get to the end, it'll be super hectic, 90 days, But you get to the end of 90 days, you'd be like, oh shit, I've sorted out my sales process, I've got my 20k recurring revenue, I've managed to achieve this, our profitability is higher, our billable hours are higher, because you put those systems in place. And then the next 90 days, then you can look at what's missing and then regroup. If you need a hand with that, I can give you a bit of a template or a framework. In addition to that, I help agencies, e-commerce agencies across the globe. And what I'm doing over the summer is I'm going to block out some of my time during the week to do audits for agencies, to actually go through agencies with a fine-tooth comb and really pull apart where your challenges are. In many cases, agencies come to me and it's the same old stuff. They say, oh, I can't get the talent, or I'm not getting the right leads in. And then when I actually audit their agency, the reality is the money's on the table, they're not taking it, they're over-servicing massively, they're not billing enough for the work that they're doing, they're pushing people through the funnel too quickly, that their estimations are so bad that it's impossible to deliver a profitable project. So 9 times out of 10, what you think your problem is often not correct, because you're in the middle of it or at the root of the problem in many cases. So I'm going to open up my calendar and make some availability to do some audits. Feel free to check out my LinkedIn page, my recommendations, and you'll see from a handful of agencies that I work with their feedback on agency workshops, and you can decide for yourself. If that's something of sign of interest, give me a shout and we'll jump on a call. Take it easy. Bye.